our YouTube channel. If you don't want to be recorded, you may want to drop off now. And once again, thank you for joining. Good afternoon, good morning, everyone. And let's start with our session today. We are going to be talking about Azure Managed Disk updates. At this topic, we have discussed briefly different, but I just want to do a quick recap since there are a number of enhancements. And folks, if you don't mind, if you see anybody in the lobby, if I'm not looking at it, please pull those guys, pull everyone in. And let's talk about um, quick agenda. So what we have here is we're going to look at the managed disk type, just a quick recap over there, and then look at some of the updates. There are possibly hundreds of updates, but we are going to just look at some of the ones which are kind of applicable or more latest and advanced. So, as you know, when Azure started, we started with unmanaged disk. You have to create a storage account and carve disk out of it. After that, we have this managed disk type, which kind of abstract out the underlying storage account. There is a storage account somewhere, but you don't have to worry about it. And there are different type of managed disk. You should be using managed disk if you are using any infrastructure as a service solution, and managed disk are hard to maintain and they should not be used. And there are different type of managed disk. You have standard HDD, standard SSD, premium SSD, and they all, of course, premium SSD V2 and Ultra disk, and all of these different SKUs have certain level of throughput, max IOPS, and they address to certain level of use cases. So if you have very IO intensive use cases, probably Ultra disk, like databases and things like that, Oracle SQL Server, Ultra disk is one that you should be using. On the other hand, if you are using kind of backup test environments, maybe standard SSD or HDD or premium SSD should be using. Just keep in mind, premium SSD V2 have uh, been around for some time, but they are improvement over premium SSD. You should be using it in most of your workloads, given that they give you higher throughput for the same amount of kind of price. But there are certain distinct differences between premium SSD and SSD V2. First of all, SSD V2 does not have a size, a predefined size. So in SSD, you have a size, you have like 512, and let's say you don't need a disk of 512 size, you need a 400 GB disk. You have to pick a 512 disk, which is the closest size. In SSD V2, premium SSD V2, you can pick a size. Okay, so that's what it allows you. So there is um, I mean, you don't have dedicated sizes. You can pick your size. Okay, and then there's no host caching for premium SSD V2. Since it has enhanced performance, you don't have to worry about host caching. Set it to read only or read write. So that addresses that issue. Okay. And you can adjust the IOPS based on the size, you know, um, and that kind of helps you address the your workload needs, and you don't have to stripe the disk because striping was meant to use in the past to make sure that you get the best performance. So that's what it allows you to do. Okay. And if we talk about some of the limitation of the premium SSD, just keep that in mind that you cannot use premium SSD disk on as an OS disk. So I just want to provide you a list here just to take a look that as there are some of the things that when if you are looking at premium SSD V2, you have to think about these keep these things in mind. Okay, one other thing is there's a mention of this resizing of premium SSD V2. So resizing when this list is available or was made available, disk resizing, live disk resizing of premium SSD was not available at that moment. Okay, it is available now in public preview. So what you can do is you can have a premium SSD V2 or Ultra disk, and you can resize it, live resize. But it is currently in public preview. Okay, so this you have to basically request. It's a allow list preview, so you have to submit the request. They will allow list your subscription, and that's how you can resize your premium SSD V2 disk. So just keep that in mind. This is currently in public preview, so that's one thing I want to mention. Okay. Um, Let's quickly move on. Okay, now we get to the update. So first of all, I just want to mention for a few seconds enhanced backup policy for Azure VMs. Okay, this is a policy, the backup policy that was made available to address some of the deficiency that was available, that was there in the backup, the classic backup policy. It supports premium SSDs and ultra disk, shared disk, uh, the trusted launch VMs, all of that. So I just want to mention it here that, and by the way, it is available both if you go from the VM or you go from the recovery service vault. And that addresses a lot of challenges which customer has where they're backing up VM, which have both premium SSD V2s and premium kind of SSD or Ultra disk, and they were having those issue, and then came this feature which addresses some of these, and you can and if they have any shared disk that was causing issues, so now you can exclude shared disk from enhanced backup policy. So just keep that in mind. That's where Ultra Disk and PV2, Premium V2 comes into picture, because now you can have both uh, backup for Ultra Disk and Premium V2 with enhanced backup policy. Just keep in mind there are still some restriction. For example, cross-region restore is not yet available. Okay, and for both of these, file level restore is not currently supported for Ultra Disk as well as Premium Disk SSD V2 disk. So just keep that in mind, and we will take a look at in the demo as well. Um, so that's where as I said, with enhanced policy, both of these are supported. This thing has gone into GA, and you can kind of take advantage of it. And then we talk about the encryption at host for Premium V2 and Ultra Disk. By the way, any questions, folks? Go ahead. Question. Basically, the encryption at host. For example, uh, this is the most comprehensive kind of encryption at host, does the encryption end to end. It includes the host and any storage disk. It includes the disk cache, data cache, all of OS disk cache and data cache. All of that, it does that. Okay, and it encrypts your data end to end. So this is also has gone GA for both Ultra Disk and Premium V2. Okay, and there are some of the things that you keep in mind, that if you have created your disk for before 5/13/2023, um, prior to that, then you will have to basically use snapshot and create a new disk based on that snapshot. If you have created after that, then that's working for you. Okay, and in order to be encrypted, if you have existing VMs, you have to be deallocated and then reallocated in order to be encrypted. So just keep that in mind. And let's continue on. This is one of the topics that I want to talk about as well. This is the expanding the Azure Managed Disk without downtime. Just keep in mind that this capability is available in GA for standard HDD, standard SSD, and premium SSD. For Premium SSD V2 and Ultra SSD, it is in public preview. I have shared a link in the end. You can take a look at it and see what region it's available. Okay, and just keep in mind if your disk is less than 4 TB and you want to expand it beyond 4 TB, that will require that you deallocate your VM and then reallocate it. Okay, so you shut it down, increase the size, and then come back. But if you're, for example, you have a 256 GB disk, you wanna increase the size to 512, no problem, you can do that. Let's say you have 1024 GB disk, you wanna increase the size beyond 4 TB. In that case, you will have to deallocate and then reallocate your VM. Okay. On the other hand, if your disk size was already above 4 TB, then there is no issue. There is no deallocation or allocation, reallocation required. You can do live resize. Just keep in mind, whatever I have told you, it applies to Premium SSD V2, standard SSD V2, and standard HDD. It does not apply to Premium SSD V2 and Ultra Disk. Okay, so just want to be clear. This limitation for the 4 TB, as you can see, it's only available for Premium SSD, standard SSD, and standard HDD. Standard Ultra disks and Premium SSD V2, they, that restriction does not apply to them. Okay, and you can do it from CLI and all the means necessary. So let's take a look at a quick demo. Um, so first of all, okay, so let's connect here. Okay, so first of all, let's what we're gonna do is we're gonna go into our resource group. We have a virtual machine, and we are going to take a look at one of the virtual machines that we have. Hold on a second. So this is my virtual machine, and this is the disks that we have. And this is a 256 GB disk. What I can do is I can go in to the disk, and in regards to the size, I can go into the next size. And by the way, I'm just showing it from the UI. Of course, I mean, you can do it from the UI or CLI or whatever. And I just updated the disk. And just keep in mind, even if there is a volume on that disk, it will not impact that volume. So let's say that there was a 12 GB, 256 GB disk. You have created a 50 GB volume on top of it. You can still expand it to 512 GB. It will not impact the underlying volume. Okay, that volume will stay on, and I mean, it will not cause any issue with that. And you can increase the size of that volume later on as well if you want to resize it. Okay, that's that's okay, but it will not impact the impact the any cause any issue with the volume. It's truly a live upgrade. As you can see, it's updating disk, and for some reason, since it's a demo, it will take some time to update. Normally, it's very quick. Okay, let me just move this bar here, and let's take a look at here. And I'm going to give me 1 second. Let me run a command here. Okay. And one very important thing to know is where premium SSD V2s are available. And it can be sometime like as we are adding capacity in different regions, adding support in different regions, sometime the best way to do it is run this query. You can run it through PowerShell. You can run it through, of course, Azure CLI, and this will give you the exact regions and zones where Azure SSD Premium V2 is available. Okay, so my point is, let's say if you want to use it, you want to take advantage of it, you have to know what region it is available and then go from there. So so while, hold on a second, see, okay, so it's still updating. Let's take it sweet down. What's going on? Okay, successfully updated disk. I think the first one, and let me go to the overview page and let's go to the size. Yes, as you can see, it has upgraded to 512. So, I mean, that's very simple. I mean, you can do it. And by the way, you can only do it for the data disk size. So I just want to mention it. Okay, now let's talk about another VM that I already have. And let's go on to that particular virtual machine. And that virtual machine is this one. This is a virtual machine which has disks. Look at this size. This is a Premium SSD V2 LRS disk size. So this is what we just attached. And I just want to show it to you the experience. If we pick like a Premium SSD V2, look, the size, I can change it. I mean, I can just pick a 50 GB disk and it will show me how many IOPS are there, and I can, use uh, the whatever size I want, and that it will pick IOPS based on that. If I want to use 500, it will show me the IOPS, and then we can go from there. So that's one thing to keep in mind. I think we talked about it. One thing that I want to show you, let me discard changes, is the backup. Okay, so if we go into the backup, this is the enhanced backup policy. So it's gonna select what vault. I mean, it's gonna create a new vault for me, all of that. And this is the enhanced backup policy. You can edit this policy if you want, in detail, what time you wanna do the backup, retention, all of that information here, but this is the enhanced backup policy, and that's what support doing your backup. If, for example, your VM doesn't have premium disk V2, you will see two options there. You want to do enhance, so let's take a look. Let's go in here and let's take a look at this VM. And if the demo gods are with me, I'm going to. So for yeah, so basically it should show, normally it should show enhanced versus. So I think there is some issue with my backup, but that it should give you an option of enhanced or standard if you are not using Premium SSD V2. With Premium SSD V2, you only can create enhanced backup policy because that's the policy that supports your VM. Okay, now I'm gonna quickly switch to a list of this. As you can see, this takes a few minutes to get the list, but it tells you, and we're quickly switching context. This is where Premium SSD V2 is available, and this list will give you an idea. Is it what region and what zones? And that's very important. And just keep in mind that when you create premium, a VM that you want to use with Premium SSD V2, you have to pick a zone or zonal deployment because not all the zones region is available and not all the zones where it is available. Okay, just keep that in mind. Any questions, folks? So let's quickly go back to our VMN discussion. So we covered this. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much I wanted to cover today. The goal was to go over like this would do a quick recap of the managed disk types and what are the kind of the latest enhancements. So we talked about backup for SSD V2 and Ultra, Premium SSD V2 and Ultra using enhanced backup policy. We talked about host encryption at host for both for Ultra and SSD V2, Premium SSD V2, and the public preview of resizing of SSD V2 and Ultra disk that is available. But just keep in mind you have to uh, get allow listed. There's a form that you have to fill once you click on the link, and that's how you get access to that particular preview. Any questions, folks? I know we have a few minutes to go. So if there are no questions, I will give everybody their 7 minutes back and hope to see everybody next week for another session of Azure Power Lunch. Have a great weekend. Thank you.